All right, guys, welcome to a Tuesday night edition of BMX Coach Live. I am your host, Greg Romero, and I'm here to answer your BMX racing and training performance questions. So make sure you guys, before we start, make sure you guys share this link. I really appreciate it because our goal is to help out mainly the beginner, intermediate, and aspiring expert riders in our sport and try to help out most of these younger riders and newer riders in our sport, and that way our sport can continuously prosper and grow. And really, at the end of the day, us seasoned BMXers, we can't really do it without new riders coming in and supporting the industry. So please make sure you guys share this. And today, that's my goal. My goal is to pretty much give back to the beginning and intermediate, and also aspiring expert riders, as well as any of the other seasoned riders as well. I have a full lineup today. I don't have any guests tonight. However, I have a couple of different training tips I'm going to give. I have a couple of cool videos that I have here. Make sure you guys also ask me any questions that you may have as it pertains to BMX racing and training performance questions. And we'll get to the Q&A towards the end of this. I'm going to try to keep this short. It's a Tuesday night. Good evening, you guys. I'm in my studio here in San Diego. It's 7 p.m. in San Diego time. It's going to be 10 o'clock if you're in New York, Eastern Standard Time. And of course, good morning if you're in Australia. We have a big following over in Australia. So again, welcome you guys to this is going to be my first pilot, it's in terms of BMX Coach Live, going a whole new season. I have a whole new lineup of guests planned out. I got Tyler Brown coming on, Connor Fields is coming on, and going to try to get a couple other guys to come on and get them to share their BMX racing and training tips, right, as it pertains to performance. So anyways, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Hope you guys are doing well on a Tuesday night. I know there's a big race coming up in Houston, and that's going to be the host of this year's UCI World Championship. So if you guys are heading down there, let me know if you guys are prepared. Let me know if you guys need any tips in terms of preparedness, at least the mental part, because the physical part, it's pretty much going to be over. I get a question all the time, especially the week of a race. Hey, Greg, what should I do this week? What should I do to prepare this week? The race is this weekend. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, man, you have to prepare minimum 3 weeks out, 3 weeks out, and have a plan and, lead up to that race and make sure that you're physically prepared, that you're mentally prepared, make sure your skills are dialed in, your power and your strength is configured. If you're coming with a question, 3 days out before the day you're going to travel, or rather 3 days out before you travel, and you're asking me how to prepare, look, there's people that have the jump on you, man. If you haven't been doing nothing, best of luck. Now, if you had been training, however, and it's the week of the race, I will give you this. You can taper for the event, and tapering is basically keeping the intensity high and also reducing the volume tremendously, reducing the volume anywhere from 50 to 75% of your workload. We've spoke about this in past live streams. And basically what that means is, well, a given workload could be something simple as this, right? If you typically do, let's just use an easy low number. If you do 10 sprints last week, and that's your regular protocol, let's say on a Tuesday night, you do 10 sprints, or you go out and do, 10 gates at the track. The idea of a race week is to keep your frequency of training of what you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday might be a rest day, but what you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you want to cut that volume in half. So if you're going to the track and doing 10 gate starts, maybe you might want to warm up, do 3 or 4 or 5 gate starts. Keep that volume low. You just want to turn the engine on, rev the motor a little bit, shut the engine off, save the fuel. Okay, you don't want to do too much damage. You want to go in feeling pipey. You want to come in feeling really powerful and strong, yet you don't want to come in feeling fatigued. So that's the idea of a taper. And so like if you're doing sprints tomorrow, let's say typically you do, 10 sprints, might want to just warm up and do 3 sprints all out, 100%. Make sure you keep the intensity high and keep the volume low. And that's the idea of maintaining, got something flying in front of my face, maintaining the adaptations that you have acquired in the 2 to 3, 4, or 5 weeks prior to the event. So tapering is very, very important. You don't want to keep the volume high. You definitely want to taper off. Anyways, it's weird. I have a monitor over here and I can see the live stream. I see I have a big group of you guys. Thank you so much. I am grateful for the opportunity for you guys to join me tonight. And I'm going to look for questions. And then, of course, fire me some questions as it pertains to BMX racing and training performance. And looks like we have quite a few coming in. We got one coming in from Nev Bourne, Bud Buddy. I love that name, Bud Buddy. I used to call my friends Buddy Buddies. And Tyson Thompson. So I got 3 questions coming in. And I'm going to go ahead and roll. I'm going to look at these questions and I'm going to play a quick video about gate start setup. It's about 2.5 minutes. So check that out. If you guys have any questions, make sure you guys leave them in the comments below. And then we're going to get to the Q&A, which is pretty much my favorite part of the show. So let's go ahead and roll that. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Thank you so much. All right, BMX coach Greg Romero here. Today we're going to show you how to set up to do a gate start. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pick which foot we're going to clip in first. In this case, Alec is going to choose the right foot. He's going to go ahead and clip in. And then what he's going to do is going to go ahead and clip into the left foot. First things first, we want to make sure that our wrists are forward. Great. And that's because we need to end up in the acceleration position when our shoulders are right over the handlebar grips. So we want those wrists forward, and that's the reason why, at least in my mind. From there, we want to make sure that both knees are slightly bent, so not straight. Show me straight. And we don't want it to be to where you're squatted down too low. So we just want a nice little bend, slight bend. Okay, next thing we want to do is make sure that our pedals are parallel to the gate pad. So go ahead and drop this heel down. Good, we don't want it too far up. Show me too far up. And we don't want it drop down where the heel's too drop down because that tends to straighten out the leg. And we want the knee to be a little bit bent because we want to be able to extend and have flexion through the quad and the glute, and therefore get triple extension power out of the gate. Same thing with the rear foot. We want to make sure that this foot is matching this foot. So we don't want this foot too far forward and we don't want it too far down, just right. Now, this foot here, you're always better off having it just a little bit more forward than normal. That's okay. And that way it'll allow for the second pedal to come around easier. Okay, so from here, we want to go ahead and make sure that we have our hip placement set up correctly. So we don't want it too far back. That's way too far back. And we don't want it way too far forward. We don't want to be too far forward because we're already in an awkward position where it's going to be really hard to generate any kind of hip extension and momentum. And we don't want to be too far back because by the time he gets extended all the way through the hip, knee, and ankle joint, he might be reacting late. So the hip placement is going to be also very influential when it comes to timing out of the gate. And we'll go over timing in another video. Okay, so from here, Alec, do you watch the light or listen to the horns?
I listen to the horns.
All right, so he listens to the horns and he's gonna go ahead and start with a chin pre-tucked. And from there, we're ready to go. So make sure our wrists are forward. And there you go, let's go ahead and give that a try.
Riders ready, watch the gate.
Excellent, and that is a very fundamental gate start stance for a 12 and under rider. If you guys have any questions, make sure you guys email me, info@bmxtraining.com. Thank you so much for being a member at BMX Training Pro, and I'll see you guys at the races.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now.
Nitro with the nice flow.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now. Let's go. Stay focused, hear the heat come. Concentrate to the sound of the beat drum. Yeah. Start it up, take it back now. Check it out. This is how it's going down. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I've been getting a couple of reports here that the stream may be breaking up. So far, so good on my side. I got a green. It goes from, red to yellow to green, and right now it's pretty stable. So I don't have the best internet in the house. But anyways, anyone have any questions about the starting stance there? Very fundamental tricks and tips there. Believe it or not, when I work with my Olympic riders and we're struggling with gate starts, I always take the time to just go over their starting stance. Hey, where are we at? What are they thinking? Because I can't presuppose that they know every little thing. I mean, they're so worried about their mental mind state. They're so worried about just leaving on the horn and getting into their second and third pedal that sometimes they need to step back and reconfigure the fundamentals of a gate start stance. So hopefully those are some awesome reminders that will enable you to get a better first pedal out of the gate, because your first pedal, your first reaction is really going to be very influential in terms of where your second and third pedal are going to be. So anyways, let's go ahead and roll to the questions. All right, so first question, we have a couple. What's up? Ricky Graves, Parker and Blake say hi. Hey, Ricky, hope you guys are doing good. Steve joined in. Again, Bud, Steve, John, Jim from NorCal. We have a question coming in from Bud Buddy, John. Jim wanted to know about last week's question and answer. Man, you have to remind me. Tyson Thompson. Let's go ahead and start with Tyson. Tyson asked, one of the things I struggle with during BMX season is gate drops. What are some tips that you could give me that will help me? Again, I just read this and we just played that one video. Shoot, looks like the stream is off, but it looks good on my side. I'm going to open up the door and see if that helps out with Wi-Fi connection. Give me a second. Please forgive me. Oh man, Mercury's in retrograde, so go figure. All right, so we're back. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you want to make sure that, Tyson, that your gate start stance is configured properly, and then of course, you want to make sure that you're reacting on the first horn of the first light. And it's funny, I had a chat with Connor Fields the other day. We were talking over social media, and one of the things that he mentioned that to a group of riders that he was coaching, he said, hey, the lights and the horns, which one comes on first? And believe it or not, we had a funny talk where it was like, it's crazy how riders don't understand that the lights and the horns go off at the same time. The first light and the first horn. So you have a visual indicator and also an auditory indicator. So leave on the first horn or first light. It doesn't matter if you're an Olympic gold medalist or if you are a 5 and under intermediate. Okay. So make sure that you're reacting, right? Make sure that you're reacting. Thanks for the question there. John asked, or you might have a comment. He says here, had my first state race past weekend, made podium. Hey, John, congratulations, man. That's awesome. I video the whole thing, but I still feel like body position is still off looking at others, but I'm getting good gates. Any tips? John, body positioning where? Out of the gate? Your sprint position, your second and third pedal acceleration position? Is it body position, when you're coming out of the turn? Is it body position when you're manualing? Body position when you're jumping? Please be more specific. You say here, I'm getting good gates. So, I got to imagine maybe you're kind of referring to gates. So I really think it's important for you to keep the shoulders over the handlebar grips coming out of the gate. When you make that first movement, you're going to lead with the head and shoulders. And the idea is to get the shoulders right over the handlebar grips. Oh, wait a minute. I have an illustration right here. Let me bring that up. Boom, check that out. We kind of jumped ahead. This is going to be my exercise of the week I'm going to share with. But basically, you want to make sure that you get your shoulders over the handlebar grips there, and you want to maintain that all the way to the 30-foot mark. That's the challenge, and it's going to be really hard to do. And it's also easy not to do. So one way that you can strengthen your positioning, your acceleration position from the first pedal all the way down to the 30-foot mark is to do this exercise right here, the static start. So what you want to do is basically find a flat ground. Parents out there, if you have kids, make sure you guys are using flat pedals. Everyone should use flat pedals, in fact, when you're doing this exercise. And you want to basically get your cranks level to the ground. Go ahead and bring your front wheel up to that pillar or a garage or a wall. Don't use mom's kitchen sink or the cupboard underneath that, because you're probably going to smash it or scuff it. And then basically what you want to do is just kind of mimic a gate start position, but more importantly, mimic the acceleration position, right where your shoulders need to be as you're starting to react, right? As soon as you react, this is pretty much the common position where you're going to be as you're reacting, getting into the first pedal. So from here, what you guys want to do is you guys want to apply pressure through that front foot, and you want to engage the core. Make sure you guys engage the core. And this is a static exercise. So in weightlifting, you guys could do a static exercise if you guys were to put, I don't know, 600, 700, 800 pounds, depending on how strong you really are, on a barbell. And of course, set the barbell about kneecap high and just really pull on it to where the barbell doesn't move, but you're pulling on it as hard as you can. Same thing applies here. You guys can actually develop awesome strength specifically on the bike as it pertains to a gate start by simply doing this static start exercise. And I would hold that. I would hold that for at least a count of 3. Go, press as hard as you can. Make sure, I don't have a helmet on. You might want to put a helmet on, and you want to make sure that the back tire isn't rotating forward. And I don't want to be accountable if you guys don't put a helmet on, and if you guys unweight the back tire, you guys are going to probably smash your head into the wall conceivably. I've never seen it, but I'm just saying, hey, make sure that you keep the core tight and apply some pressure, and make sure that that back wheel doesn't break loose. So make sure that, the concrete isn't like a smooth garage door. Make sure that it's a little bit rough so that there's some nice connection between the tire and the surface that you're on. But hold that for 3 seconds, take a break, do it again. Do 3 seconds on, 5 seconds off, 3 seconds on, 5 seconds off, 3 seconds on. So do a set of 3 and then rest a minute, and then do it again and try doing, maybe 5 sets. And that's really going to strengthen that core area right here. And you're going to engage all the muscles that are necessary to contract. And this, so anyways, yeah, I don't want to go off too far off from what Tyson's asking me, but that is a tip. And so thank you so much, Tyson. I really appreciate that. And I hope the rest of you guys give that a try next week. Let me know how that goes. Really appreciate you guys. So let's go ahead and let's go to the next question. Bud Buddy. I love that name, man. Bud Buddy. Bud Buddy asks, my question is, what workouts are best for my 12-year-old expert? He does sprints and box jumps. Yeah, man, I think that exercise right there is really good especially for a 12 and under that isn't necessarily ready to lift weights yet. That doesn't mean that you couldn't mimic barbell exercises with, say, a broom. So you could do squats, you could do lunges, and start preparing him to where when he's ready, when he has developed enough to where, the idea is that you want to develop flexibility as a young rider and also develop strength just by body weight through exercises. And that way it can improve the strength of the ligaments and the tendons, etc. And that way, when he is ready to lift, when he had reached puberty and he's ready to put some weight on the bar, that he already understands the movements of free barbell weights. And also he has the flexibility, he has the movement down, the neurological component of doing the movement, and also the flexibility and strength in the tendons and the ligaments. So do body weight exercises with a broom. You could definitely start there. Do the static exercise. This one right here. Do that one right there. The one that we just talked about. All right. So, yeah, man. Great question. Yeah, and I think continuously do continuously have them do sprints. Vary the sprints. Make sure you guys are doing sprints specifically. Here, I wanted to bring up this, let's see if I could bring this up. Here's some sprint training recommended lengths that I made for you guys. And right here we have, what is the acceleration intent? Or on the left-hand column, if you guys look there, acceleration to the first jump, acceleration of the entire first straight, acceleration to the second turn. And then in the middle, you got your given lengths in terms of how long you should sprint. So if you're accelerating to the first jump and you just want to focus on that, 4 to 6 full cranks, go all out, rest minimum 2 minutes, and repeat. And you could do that on flat ground, of course. And then if you want to improve the acceleration of the entirety of the first straight, go a little bit longer, 8 to 10 full cranks. And that's a big effort there. A bigger effort, more effort is going to require more rest. So if you notice in the rest column, 4 minutes, but hope you're paying attention there. And so the last one, of course, is, I like accelerations to the second turn. I actually personally use this as I was getting ready for the UCI World Championships 3 years ago when it was in Rock Hill. I was doing really, really long efforts because I knew we were going to race a bunch of laps, and I also wanted to be fast at the second corner. So what I did, don't get me wrong, I want to be fast to the first corner and also to the last turn, but I knew for me, my weakness, and I knew where the race was going to be won and lost, was being able to be fast all the way to the second corner. After that, it's going to be really hard to make up ground. And so that's just my mindset. So acceleration to the second corner, you're looking anywhere from 15 to 20 full cranks. That is a really, really, really long sprint. You're talking probably close to 10 to 12 seconds. And that's about the same distance of, a gate to the second corner on any typical track, whether it's an indoor track or an outdoor track. Again, it's a longer effort, so you're going to need more rest. And if you see on the right-hand corner there, minimum 6 minutes. And personally for me, I'll rest up to 8 minutes on something like that. And I probably won't do more than 5 of those. After 5 of those, being older, being a guy that has a hard time getting rid of lactic waste, I don't need to do a whole lot of those. It's really, really taxing on the body. So if you're doing acceleration of the first jump sprints, you could do more. You can do anywhere from 10 to 20. Acceleration to the first straight, anywhere from, 5 to 8 of those is plenty enough. Let me go ahead and refresh. Let me go ahead and refresh my app and see if I can come up with any more questions. Tyson Thompson asks, at my track, Spokane BMX, a lot of us like to do what we call jumping the gate, which is where we basically wheelie right out of the gate. Is that effective at all? Tyson, listen, man, that is a great question. And honestly, it just depends on where your body positioning's at. Because I had coached a kid named Nick Long, 2-time Olympian, and he wheelies out of the gate quite a bit. I had another guy, Mike Day, a long time ago. He's a 2008 silver medalist, and he would also wheelie out of the gate. However, as long as their shoulders are over the handlebar grips as they're accelerating and their head is down, it's okay for the front wheel to come up. So it just depends. If your shoulders are behind the grips, if your hips are behind the seat and your head is up, then you're probably not getting effective power into the pedals. So you have to heed caution in terms of delivering effective power in what I would call the sprint acceleration position. And I have those. If you guys go to my membership website, go ahead and get a free membership and check out the gate start section. I talk about acceleration position in there. Check that out. And if you don't have that, check out BMX Racing Skills DVD, and I have it in a digital download. Go to the store, bmxtraining.com. Also check out Faster First Straight. That's also a really cool digital download that you guys could use, and that will teach you some fundamental principles that I apply to my Olympic riders. And, at the end of the day, I don't know if it's smart for you guys to intentionally pull a wheelie. Now, here's the thing. The reason why a wheelie happens is a lot of the pro riders, they're so strong, right? And a lot of us younger riders or aspiring riders, and also a lot of us older riders that are new, and we watch the pros and they do a lot of different things. And keep in mind, those guys are able to squat 500 pounds, right? On average, right? I mean, I'm just throwing a general number out there, but they're relatively strong. A lot of them can squat 2.5 times of their body weight. And so when they're coming out of the gate, their front wheel is coming up by default. But I'll tell you this, they are not pulling up on the handlebars. The idea that I preach is that you want to anchor You want to anchor your front end of your body, right? So your hands all the way through your shoulders to your lats. You just want to anchor it. You don't want to break at the elbow and purposely pull up on the bars. That's a big no-no. Because if you do that, then the chances are you're losing effective power into the pedals, because the shoulders are going to be behind the handlebar grips and your hips are going to be back, and more than likely your head's going to come up. So heed caution of head placement. Make sure that your head is down. Make sure your shoulders are over the handlebar grips. And if you wheelie, so be it. But it'd be interesting to show me some video of what you got and maybe send that in an email, info@bmxtraining.com. I'd love to take a look at it. Thank you so much for the question. All right, we have another question coming in. Oh, Jim. Thank you so much, Jim. Mountain biking being beneficial or detrimental to BMX, i.e. sprint sport versus a mostly endurance sport. Yeah, it depends on what kind of mountain biking you're doing. If you're doing it for fun, I have no problems if you guys are going to go out there and mountain bike, on a Sunday, right? So I had a client that lived in Utah, and I wrote him a training program, and he was like, look, I really want to dedicate a day where I could ride with my son. We do mountain biking, and can we throw that in the program? I said, absolutely, especially for the mental component of breaking things up. One day a week, especially during season, I have no problems with that. Maybe the week before or 2 weeks out from a major race, you might want to taper off and cut the mountain biking or the endurance riding down, and maybe keep that endurance to maybe like a 20 to 30 minute easy spin. I have no problems with endurance. I love endurance. I think there's a place for it. A lot of the Olympic athletes that I have coached, we usually periodize our training and dedicate a block in the wintertime to improve that separately. And then we go ahead and move specifically into hypertrophy, strength, and then of course, we pretty much maintain strength and speed throughout the year. Now, yes, if you were to do a lot of mountain biking and no sprint work, yes, it's going to be really hard on the body. It's going to be real hard for you to say, hey, body, you need to wake up, let's sprint. All right, so being a sprint sport, you definitely want to continuously and frequently work on your sprint training, and it's going to be hard by doing a bunch of frequency of endurance riding and training. So I would definitely keep the frequency down. So 1 to 2 times a week at most. If you're in race season, might want to substitute that with a sprint training workout 2 weeks out from a major race. I would cut the endurance riding away from the program. Hope that makes sense, Jim. Thank you so much. And it's good to see you. What else do we got? Chad Calhoun. My 11-year-old won't bring his head and shoulders over the bars and really arches his back pulling out of the gate. How can I help him correct this? Yeah, man. So you could probably get him to you could put him in this position right here. Let's see if I could bring this up. Let me clear my layer. You could do this at home where, Chad, you can go ahead and take your 11-year-old, put him on flat pedals, bring the bike up to the wall, and basically you want to get him to lead with the head and shoulders. Just lead with the head and shoulders, going back and forth, okay? And get him to lead with the head and shoulders there, and that will that'll train him to create that first movement there. Let me get a drink of water. Chad, he also says, really arches his back pulling out of the gate. I'd have to see some video on that or a picture. Steve asks, I'm a 50-year-old novice getting ready for the Spring Nationals in New Mexico. Hey, Steve, man, dude, that is awesome. I don't know what to say, dude. That's awesome that you're 50 years old and you're a novice and you're getting into the sport and you're getting ready for a national. Man, I'm grateful to be here for you. You're the ideal guy that I want to speak to. I'm going to go ahead and like that comment. He says, I hope you reply. The internet is breaking up. Interesting, because I'm watching my monitor here and I haven't seen it break up yet. So I don't know. Maybe it's on your side. Steve asks, I just got first place in my class at the Sooner Nationals. Congratulations. I consider myself in very good shape and work out every morning. Hey man, being consistent every day is the power of compounding interest. My question is, do you consider running something we should consider for training? Do you consider running something we should consider for training? Such as, Steve, I don't know what that means. Are we talking about gearing? I don't know. You set me up for a good question, but I don't understand the question, man. Please forgive me. Do you consider running something we should consider for training? Be specific. I don't know what you mean. I got a comment maybe from Ricky Graves. Me and Parker are headed to Houston Thursday morning. What should he focus on during his limited practice time on Thursday and Friday? First straight, full laps, etc. Great question. Ricky, when you're at Houston, definitely, I think the first things first, you definitely want to get him feeling good out of the gate. Making sure that he feels good about the timing of the gate, what his gate start stance position is on the gate. Make sure that works well with his timing, because timing at home and timing at another track are going to be two different things. Make sure that's configured and correct. Making sure that he feels really good out of the gate. And then after that, you want to make sure that he gets all the obstacles that perhaps may be challenging down. So I remember being a young kid, just like Parker, 8, 9 years old. And I would be on a plane, right? And just hoping that I'd be on a plane to a national, just hoping and praying that the ABA wouldn't build some big jump that I couldn't jump, or some big jump that I was going to be scared of. And sure enough, every time I showed up, and back then, jumps were, lips were like Excite Bike lips. Everything was like a triangle to triangle. So it was just like boom, boom. Nothing really smooth as it is today. They were really hard to manual. So back then we were really forced to jump things, especially on these indoor tracks. I don't think Billy Allen was building tracks back then, but I would focus on obstacles that he may perceive to have a challenge with. So you might want to say, hey, Parker, how's the track look? Everything look good to you? Is there anything that may look like a challenge? And maybe, let him open up, Ricky, and find out, what's going on in his mind, because the track might look good to you, Ricky, but at the end of the day, we don't know what Parker's internal representation is in terms of him looking at the track and looking at things that may scare him or may be a challenge to him. So, hey, go through each straight, watch practice. How does the first straight look? What are you going to do? Challenge him before practice. What are you going to do on the first straight? Second straight, how does it look? What do you plan on doing? And, let him talk. Hey, that sounds great. What are you going to do on the rhythm section coming out of the second corner? Man, I don't really know, Dad. I don't know, maybe that double. So, get him to feel confident out of the gate. Get him to feel confident down the first straight, second straight. If there's a challenging jump, say on the third straight, don't overemphasize it. Make sure that he feels good about other straights. And then if you guys get another round of practice, maybe dedicate a little bit more time to something that's really challenging to him, and maybe not so much time on the first, second, or even the gate. That would be my approach. You have to be really dynamic in terms of your approach here. Thanks, Ricky. I'll chat with you soon, man. Jason Stout asked, 45 expert wanting to get back to the national circuit. What's the honest and true way to get competitive? No expense spared. No expense spared. Yeah, it depends. I don't know where you're at in terms of equipment, but I'll presuppose that you have a nice bike and you're ready to go. Yeah, man, you can hire me straight up. You can also get a membership. And I think honestly at 45, look, I just turned 46, and I think it's important for us older guys to make sure that we have good endurance, we have good power endurance, we have good strength and flexibility in the gym. So a well-rounded physical program that prepares you for the physicality of BMX racing is very important. It's an acceleration sport, it's a demanding sport. And also we do crash from time to time. So being in shape does help. And also the older we get, we want to prevent osteoporosis and getting under the bar, whether it's a simple bench press, if it's pull-ups, if it's squats, lunges, or whatnot, deadlifts, you want to impose that demand in terms of preventing osteoporosis. So there's many benefits to strength training. So strength training is key, sprint training is key, working on your power endurance as it relates to your repeatability of doing explosive work time and time after again, because BMX training is real repetitive, right? Whether you're doing gate starts, whether you're going to Whether you're going to work on rhythm section work, you got to be able to recover and make sure that you're recovered and be able to do it again safely, because being in shape helps us be safe on the track. So Jason, reach out to me. I'd love to hear more about your goals, and perhaps I invite you not only to join my BMX training membership, but definitely I'd love to hear more about your goals and see if I can help you. Let's see what other questions we have. We got a lot of engagement today. I really am grateful for you guys to show up here on the live stream. Adam Scoggins, this is a great question, Adam. How do I get my son motivated again after a tough loss? Yeah, motivation, man, it is so temporary. It's so temporary. So I think what it comes down to is finding something a little bit more sustainable, Adam. And I think finding out what his goals are, what is his purpose, what is his why is he racing, and identifying those and creating values, creating some parameters out of these values so he can operate within. And that way he's always operating within this tight, an optimal performance mind state, right? So if he has a bad loss, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and shake that off. And look, that bad loss doesn't define who I am as a person. It's just something that I experience. It doesn't define me. So he needs to figure out, why is he racing? Who is he trying to become, right? Who is he trying to become as a racer? And one of the tricks that I do as a practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming hypnosis, I try to extract from my top riders, who are they trying to become as a BMX racer, right? So a lot of you guys are doing this for fun, but a lot of these guys that are aspiring Olympic athletes, that are aspiring pros, I go bigger picture with those guys. What are you guys trying to become after BMX? Do you want to be an empowered person? Someone that's responsible, someone that's at cause, someone that doesn't live by effects, someone that doesn't live by excuses, someone that doesn't live in victimhood. So we get them in a state of responsibility, right? As opposed to effect, being at effect of, for example, I know I'm going a little bit abstract here, but, as long as your kid's not suffering this tough loss as a victim, right? If he could take ownership, be at cause, as opposed to being at effect, that's helpful. And I think at the end of the day, you want to figure out what he wants to become. Are you trying to become a top expert rider? Okay, well, what are the ingredients of top expert riders? They're empowered, they're disciplined, they're consistent. They have behavior flexibility. They also understand that BMX racing doesn't identify who they are. It's just something that they do, right? So you want to be able to be a person, and I think sometimes we tend to look at sport as an identity, right? I know I did this. I did this as a young kid and also as a pro. It's like I lived by my wins and also, died by my losses. And at the end of the day, if I could have it all over again, I would totally separate the two and understand that, look, I want to be a grateful, loving, harmonized, peaceful, empowered, a mentoring, a learning, I want to be a bunch of awesome stuff as a person, right? And so as long as I realize that's who I am and I go out there and race and I have a bad loss, I'm not going to get down on it. Now I'll take that loss as feedback. Hey, what are some of the things that what are some of the things that I could have done differently? Let me get some water. Find out what are some of the things that he could have done differently. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Again, let me repeat that. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. So don't look at that as something that identifies you as a person. I know I'm going really deep there, and please forgive me. That might be the life coaching part of me that's coming out. But I hope that makes sense, right? I think at the end of the day, you got to figure out why you're racing and who you're trying to become. And if you're trying to become a champion, look, champions are always empowered. They're always responsible. They're never looking at failure. They're always looking at these losses as feedback. And then at the end of the day, they get right back into the performance mind state. A performance mind state could be something that's like they're empowered, they're focused, they're smooth, they're strong. And what I do in neuro-linguistic programming is I give every one of my riders an anchor for the most part. Give them an anchor, a performance anchor that they could use that gets them into the right performance mind state so they can optimize their chances of performing well when the gate drops. So if he gets back up to the gate, if he's stuck in this state of like, oh man, I'm really bummed on that loss, and man, I don't know how it's going to go. And he doesn't shake out of that, then that next lap is not going to be good. And if the next lap isn't good, it's only going to confirm how he's feeling and what he believes. And all of a sudden, that may become a mood, right? If he keeps repeating this week after week, he's in this mood and he's kind of bummed out about BMX, and all of a sudden, if he can't shake that mood, all of a sudden it becomes a characteristic, right? So it's really important to break that loop. It's a mental loop that may potentially happen. So again, you got to get him back into an optimal performance mind state. That's what the pros are doing. Great question. All right, well, lots of good questions. What else do I have over here? I think that's about it. Any more questions? Let me hit refresh one more time. Again, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here and for you guys to be here and for me to... for you guys giving me an opportunity to give back. Oh, okay, let's go back to this one question. Steve asked about, do you consider running something we should consider for training? So jogging, sorry. Look, yes and no. If you're doing it, if it's something that you feel good about in terms of increasing, as a 50-year-old man, if you're doing that to prevent osteoporosis because you're putting a good demand on your bones. Look, there's cyclists that I ride with, and some of them they do running towards they go running in the middle of the week because we're not getting that hard impact riding a bicycle, right? So I do it personally through strength training. So I strength train at least once a week, and I think running's good. Keep it short, keep it sweet. You could even do running sprints. I wouldn't do too much of it though. I would focus a lot of your work on longer sprint training, especially as a 50-year-old. You want to make sure that you have a really good engine to be efficient around the track because, man, when the older we get, listen, man, like you have to work on your efficiency around the track. So speed and power. So you're working on sprints and you're working on speed endurance. Speed endurance, doing longer sprints, doing pump laps, doing longer sprints. Those are the things that you want to be focusing on as a 50-year-old novice, Steve. Thank you so much for those questions. All right, guys, I think that's about it. Want to run a commercial. Next week, I'm looking to have a couple guests on the show, and we're going to talk to some of the pros and find out what their tips and tricks are in terms of training. Okay, we're going to talk about on the bike training, off the bike training, their favorite exercise in the gym, favorite exercise off the bike, favorite exercise or training protocol on the track, and maybe what they have in their gear bag in terms of what they like to eat. All right, so let's take a break here. I'm going to look at another question. I'll be back here in about 45 seconds. Hey guys, I have a question. What would it do for you if you could enhance your power out of the gate, enhance your sprint speed down the first straight, enhance your skills, enhance your mental performance mind state? What would that do for your racing or your kids' racing? If you're seeing the value of enhancing your BMX performance, consider joining the community of BMX Training Pro and get the same access my Olympic athletes have enjoyed, as well as thousands of BMXers all over the world. Some members use the access to improve their gate start techniques. Some also use the access to keep them motivated to train, and you'll find your reason when you gain access and join BMX Training Pro today. All right, if you guys have not become a member, make sure you guys head over there. Support me over at bmxtraining.com. If you guys want to check it out, there is a free trial over there. It's good for 2 days. Have a look around. We have training plans over there. We have training for older guys that are, 50 years old. I have a faster lap program over there, faster first straight program, both for the 12 and under rider and also older riders that want to strength train. So make sure you guys check it out. There's a lot of more secrets over there in terms of skills, sprint training, mental training, and strength training. So make sure you check that out. I also have one more question in coming from Ben Troya. Ben's a really good friend of mine in NorCal. Hey, Ben, hope you guys are doing well over there. Ben asked, keys to training on rollers: form, shoulders, back, knees in, heels down, reps. Man, this is a lot of stuff. Rollers are tricky because at the end of the day, you're trying to balance the front wheel and the rear wheel on the drums. And so that's really going to dictate where your body weight sits. And so what I'm finding is, and I'm talking about traditional rollers, I'm not talking about putting your bike in a trainer. That's a completely different thing. And we'll talk about that in a second. But rollers where there's two drums in the back where your back wheel goes on, and there's another drum on the front where the front wheel goes on. And again, it's really hard to make sure that the bike is balancing fore and aft. And so it's really hard to get your shoulders over the grips while you're sprinting at full speed on rollers. So you tend to get into a more relaxed position where the shoulders are just a little bit behind the handlebar grips there. And that's about the equivalent if you're doing a maximum speed sprint, say, going downhill, doing a downhill sprint, which is going to be typically your body positioning, I don't know, like right before the first jump sometimes, and definitely after the first jump and anywhere else on the track. You're more in this, relax in the cockpit where the shoulders are a little bit further back behind the handlebars. And so the key really, Ben, I think the first and foremost, the thing that you want to think about is ensure that your core is tight. Make sure that core is tight. And that way your hands and feet are a little bit relaxed. And with rollers, there's not a whole lot of resistance there, right? So at the end of the day, you just want to focus on letting the feet fly and just try to get them to spin at high cadence, at your highest cadence possible. Now, in terms of form, you talked about knees in, knees out. I'm not overthinking any of that stuff. Heels down. No, you don't want the heels down. You're definitely going to be a little bit more on your tippy toes for sure. Duration. It depends. I have some of my guys do broken sprints, and they're going all out for 3 to 5 seconds, and then they pause for 5 seconds and hit it again. They're doing broken sprints. You could try that, but if you want to do something that replicates, say, your top end leg speed down the first straight, anywhere from 5 to 8 seconds is fine. Totally. If you want to go a little bit longer and work on some speed endurance, if you will, 10, 15, 20 seconds is cool too. But keep in mind, the longer you go, the RPMs towards the end of the interval is going to be a little bit slower. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. Oh no. Oh no, the feed shows that it's breaking up. Maybe it's the internet over here. All right, guys. Well, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for the opportunity for me to help you, guide you, and mentor you at BMX Coach Live. Again, looking forward to seeing you guys next week. I'm going to work on some more content, some new content, bring in some guests. I'm working all that, working out all the glitches, working on my live feed skills. And it's a lot. Tell you what, man, because I'm running the switchboard operator here. I'm answering your questions. I'm reading questions, and I got to make sure I'm on point here. So this is a lot of work. But again, I really appreciate the opportunity. Again, if you guys are racing this week in Houston, best of luck. I'll be rooting for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And once again, I'll see you guys next week or at the races. I'm signing out. Talk to you guys soon.